NXT 3.0, that's going to be the question today here on SCW because, well, I mean, it was quite an exciting period at the end of NXT this week. A couple of major talking points coming at the end of the show. First and foremost, Solo Sikoa becoming the brand new North American champion, defeating Carmelo Hayes. Of course, Solo Sikoa going on to SmackDown, coming back, adding some gold to the bloodline, but going back to NXT to do so. But also, then going off the air, we'd had this evening theory of superstars doing matches, and we were picking the stipulations, picking the opponents. Well, we had one last treat going off the end of the show, narrated by Shawn Michaels, saying how the show of NXT always tends to evolve. It was the 1 year anniversary, by the way, of NXT 2.0. Well, it appears that NXT 2.0 is going to be no more because a new logo was revealed. The black and gold seems to be back. Was it black and white gold or black, gold and white? I'm not entirely sure looking at that logo entirely, but certainly it feels that we're going back to an NXT of old, but with a mesh of the logo of a part of the new, which makes me hope that we're going to get the best of both worlds. But potentially, when you look back at NXT and you look back at its past, it was Triple H's baby. It was what he created. It was almost the best of the Super Indie show, if you will. We had takeovers that were 5-star matches, you know, pure PWG for the fan base, a portion of the W audience finding a real true alternative to the Raw and SmackDown and going crazy for it. In the meantime, obviously, when we got a bit further down the line, we got AEW, which were promoting themselves as the alternative, almost the battle of the Super Indies with their own form of star power, the likes of a Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes at that time, bringing in other superstars and the pillars they want to bring up of an MJF, a Jungle Boy, you know, those sort of superstars. And, well, the pandemic hit, and I think that really harmed NXT, the black and gold at the time. It missed a big crucial point of its fan base, which was, well, it was the fan base. That was what was missing for us watching at home. We were used to seeing the passionate NXT cries each and every time instead of in an empty performance center. Nothing separated it anymore from a Raw and SmackDown, which was doing the same shows at that time in that place. And it felt that with most superstars being called up to Raw and SmackDown, there felt like just a sticking point for NXT. They'd come off a tricky time with winning Survivor Series, but then just losing to AEW each and every week in the ratings near enough, it seemed, to the point that, well, it got partway through the pandemic. Triple H, of course, became unwell, and Vince McMahon hit a reset button. He changed it to NXT 2.0. It was out with the indies and in with the homegrown talent, trying to make WWE stars of the future, people that we've seen the likes of, like a Bron Breakker, if you will, a Toxic Attraction, Carmelo Hayes, who technically was still at the very end of the black and gold, but some real characters we've seen, like Tony D'Angelo, for example. We've seen different sorts of characters coming that have just been completely wacky, like an Andre Chase, superstars like that. But it feels that maybe we weren't getting the best of the takeovers when we got the NXT specials. We were getting something a bit different once again that just was fun, but I don't think was getting people talking about NXT the same sort of way. Now, we've had this change with 1 year anniversary. It feels like maybe we might get the best of both worlds. To get characters, I think, is good to have people that are distinguished on a roster, but at the same time, to get like this indie sort of style. The best wrestlers in the world on this show doing the best matches possible, I think will be really exciting. We've seen Triple H have his start on the Raw and SmackDown since taking over head of creative from Vince McMahon. We've seen it instantly on Raw and SmackDown with better wrestling, better shows. A lot of people asking themselves, when NXT, what's going to happen with NXT? Will it stay the same for the long term? It feels like in a very short term now, we're going to go back to what NXT's roots were. And I think a lot of people are excited about it. And we've got quite a few comments come flying in already. So thank everyone that's joining in the chat here. I will come to you in a couple of seconds. Just a little bit of news that is broke to date on this information. Halloween Havoc, of course, is the next premium live event for NXT. Inside internally, according to Brian Alvarez, it is being described as a takeover style event. So that's exciting to feel that the idea of takeover will come back, will create that buzz further for the fan base of NXT. Maybe a fan base that when you look that maybe have left NXT to go and watch AEW, to go and watch other products, may come back in because that excitement will be there once again. Will NXT start touring again, going doing those takeovers in special locations? Maybe not immediately, but it could be something in the medium to long term future. And of course, there are new challenges as well for the NXT Championship, many of them coming from NXT UK. There may be 1 or 2 spoilers out already because I believe next week's show has been pre-taped, but I won't give those away here unless, well, someone brings up in the chat, then I can't really do much about that, but I will try not to do so. But let's look and see what people are seeing in the comments already. We've got many people saying hi. We've got Don Mills in the house. Hope you're doing well, Don. Thank you for joining us. Noob and Co. also. Thank you, Noob, for joining us. Hope you're doing well. As with JDS Sports as well. Everything is going going well, my friend. Thank you for checking out the stream and hope you were doing well. And Noob says, I believe it's going to be NXT. It's going to be white and gold. Of course, we've got the black background, but if you take it away, there's a hint of black still in there. But yeah, it is more predominantly white and gold. It's kind of evolving NXT, but it's kind of also going back to the roots we had previously. It's going to be interesting to see what do you want from a new NXT, everyone in the chat. Let us know, what do you want to see from NXT going forward? Do you want to see NXT of old? Do you want to see this NXT of new? Do you want to see a mesh of the two? Because if you look at the current NXT, we've had some new stars that have been built. The likes of Bron Breakker has been built exceptionally over the last 12 months. Like I say, Carmelo Hayes has been a long-term North American champion. Toxic Attraction, whether some people give them hate, but look, they are different to what else is going on with the rest of the roster, and they stand out. They've been champions for a long time. Mandy Rose is closing in on a year as NXT Women's Champion. Toxic Attraction, the team, Gigi Doland and JC Jane have held the NXT Women's Tag Team titles for the majority of the year as well. I believe the longest reigning Tag Team Champions were Imperium, but we've had the likes of the Creed brothers there as well, who are doing great things also. So there is quite a good blend of what we've seen with NXT, as well as the likes of Grayson Waller, Joe Gacy. There's been a lot of people that have been standout characters in NXT. We've got Nikita Lyons as well, who was up for the NXT breakout sort of star of the first 12 months. We've got Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez. So there's lots there to be excited about with that, and trying to evolve that into an NXT black and gold environment could be very exciting indeed. JDS Sports says black and gold is back and I love it. I can't wait. We are NXT. And I think that's one of the key parts as well. We are NXT. Triple H put it as a hashtag as well after on Twitter also. So yeah, very exciting stuff. Like I said, I'm really happy to see what we've got with NXT going forward. And like I say, I want to see what else has got to say about it. And of course, if you've got any questions about any other topics as well, feel free to drop in. There's been a lot that has happened in wrestling this week, so feel free to get involved. But Tino's time is in a house. It must be Tino's time. Thank you, Tino, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. And he says TakeOver is back with not one, not two, but three fire emojis. I've got a funny feeling Tino is very excited at the prospect that TakeOver is back. And of course, with takeovers as well, Halloween Havoc, we know Triple H is a big fan of bringing back some of the nostalgia as well. Will we get like a special Halloween set once again here? Will we go all out for the set this time? I really hope so. Halloween Havoc should be its own true premium live event, not just something thrown on a Tuesday night. It should be as a takeover, as it should be. I think it could be one of the more exciting events of the year. And of course, they do the spin the wheel, make a deal as well. So that for me could be an exciting concept if they bring that back this year as well. We could get one or two special gimmick matches on that show. Nubico says, I believe that we need a combination of the two. I totally agree with you. You know, as I said, there's so many different characteristics we've seen stand out and break out. Like a Wendy Chu, for example. Imagine her now when she goes to a Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, okay, perhaps we could say, like, not going to be a women's champion, but she's someone to stand out on the roster. You can find something to do with her with TV time. Look at some of the people that we've got, like, now that are going up to Raw and SmackDown or been brought back to go into Raw and SmackDown. We've got the likes of Dexter Lumis, for example. Now, I will say, first and foremost, I do think that storyline has kind of taken a nosedive in the last couple of weeks. So the excitement and buzz we had when he first returned. But at the same time, what I would say is that that's a character that stands out. It's different. Triple H can find TV time for those people to have their characteristics stand out on TV and present something different on the show. That's what I like to see with our characteristics and our characters of what we're seeing in WWE. So a combination of the two for me is great, because if you bring back the indie stars as well, let's look at the likes of Oni Lorcan, who retweeted that tweet as well. We've seen some people come back that were in NXT before. It's a big question mark, and maybe they'll be more open to coming back with Triple H now in charge with a pencil of what's going on down there. Of course, Shawn Michaels as well, still doing stuff with it as well. So it's really exciting times here. And to be fair, to see some people come back, not everyone's gone to AEW, New Japan, Impact Wrestling. Some people that have been released maybe had to come back and maybe able to make an impact in NXT. I'm going to throw out the name Bronson Reed. I think it'll be a great shout for NXT right now as well, providing if he could be signed to come back. I know he's done his New Japan dates now. Of course, he was with Impact earlier this year as well. Bronson Reed coming back could be someone that could go straight for the top. And Bron Breakker versus Bronson Reed sounds like a main event match to me. So certainly that's something I want to see. Stuart Ridley in the house. Hope you're doing well, Stuart. Thank you for checking out the stream. Says, can't wait for the revamp, but honestly think some of the actual wrestling on 2.0 was better than he got credit for. Do you know what? I think that you have a good point with that. There have been some great matches in NXT over the last 12 months or so. You can't just turn around and say that everything that was done in the black and gold era was perfect, because it had its flaws as well. And that's why it wasn't necessarily I don't know if it was making necessarily the money side of things, but it was not winning in ratings. When it went to the USA Network and it was going against AEW Dynamite every Wednesday, it was failing. There was something that was missing from that product. A 2.0, they had some good in-ring wrestling. They had some characters as well. Let's try and think of some of the good matches that have been in the NXT 2.0 era. We had Bron Breakker against Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc last year. I thought was a really, really good match. They had a ladders match on that show as well last year, where I think it was Toxic Attraction won the women's tag team titles, if I'm not mistaken. Carmelo Hayes has been a standout performer, had great matches with the likes of Pete Dunne. He's gone against Cameron Grimes in there. Obviously, the match with Solo Sikoa was great this week as well. Solo Sikoa's had some great Falls Count Anywhere matches. They've done some great gimmick matches as well with NXT 2.0, so some of that shouldn't be taken away either. So I think, Stuart, you make a good point. To actually put together the two, maybe that's what NXT 2.0 was trying to do to begin with, but I think with Triple H's touch on it, you really do get that black and gold vibe, but to actually have the 2.0 Vince vision of it, maybe we could be on to a winning combination going forward. Tino's Time says, do you see Carmelo being called up, or do you think that it's just to give Solo the title to bring to the bloodline? Fantastic question, this one. And honestly, I think it could be a bit of both. There was a tweet put out by Carmelo Hayes, I believe, at a concert. And I saw this on Wrestle Talk earlier. That apparently some people were speculating that he put like two fingers up, which could mean something very different from the UK, but it was more of a peace sign. I think it was more like, peace out, I'm leaving NXT. I think a lot of people took from that. Maybe just the fact he's going to take a bit of time away, maybe refresh himself and then come back into NXT. It's not a guarantee he goes to Raw SmackDown, but one thing I would say, he's ready for it. I mean, if Raw SmackDown have a space for a Carmelo Hayes, bring Trick Williams with him as well. He's done so much in NXT. I wouldn't be surprised if he was to be called up. He can have some great matches. We've already seen him against Ricochet, of course, at Worlds Collide, and that was amazing. Think of the talent pool that is available on Raw SmackDown to go against a Carmelo Hayes. There were so many great talents out there. Although, if you're going to ask my opinion, I would love to see Carmelo Hayes go for the NXT Championship before being called up. But that's just me personally. The guy has been the A champion, as he says, for a long time. Can he be the A guy, if you want, in the entire NXT 2.3.0, whatever it's going to be called in this era? We'll have to wait and see. But for Solo Sikoa, to answer that part of the question, yeah, I think it's just add time to more gold to the bloodline. Sami Zayn, again, is the only one without gold in the bloodline. So it just adds perfect narrative to what they're doing with Sami and the Usos. For me personally as well, you can't have Solo Sikoa beat Gunther at this point, in my personal opinion. Gunther's doing amazing work as Intercontinental Champion. He's really adding prestige to that title. Bobby Lashley's got the program with Seth Rollins now going on Monday Night Raw, and we're still getting for Bobby Lashley and Gunther, hopefully for Survivor Series. I know I'm really, really wanting that match, but it could change. We'll have to wait and see. But for the meantime, Solo Sikoa doing that actually is fantastic, because then gold is added to the bloodline, but also it adds another layer to NXT going forward, because what if we do continue to get people from Raw SmackDown go down there? We could win championships, but actually bring them then to Monday Night Raw and bring them to SmackDown, elevate those championships. See, look, you can see this guy compete against on NXT. It's a good reason to say, I'm going to tune NXT because I now see this guy. He's really good. He's got this championship. Maybe this other show I've not checked out. It could be a way to boost NXT ratings, but let's wait and see. I'm going to jump ahead of comments a quick, because Tino does suggest Sami equals 24/7 title. I'd love to see it. I really want it to happen. I've spoke about this on one of my previous live streams. I even took a little snippet out and put it on a video on its own, actually. I would really love that to happen, because Sami then could just do that and be really confident and say, like, yeah, I've got the 24/7 title. I'm part of the bloodline. I'm holding titles as well. But everyone could just laugh at him and say, dude, no one takes that seriously. And if they're trying to do a bloodline sort of, promo in the ring as well, and then everyone's chasing Sami around the ring with a 24/7 title, how bad that looks on the bloodline as well, but could add to the narrative. Could be a lot of fun, but I don't think they're going to do it at this point. We're not seeing the 24/7 title now for a very long time now, for a number of weeks. Tom talks rubbish in the chat. Hope you're doing well, Tom. Thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Match you love that everybody doesn't talk about. Oh, that's a great question. That's a very outside of the box question there for you. Trying to think of a good one off the top of my head as well. I'm going to go back to Armageddon 2006. I think it's a really underrated pay-per-view. There was a 4-team ladder match in that match. And of course, on that show, it's very famous of the ladder that involved the Hardy Boys and Eminem. And the Hardy Boys basically smashed Joey Mercury's face up. He was in a all right bloody mess. But the ladder match itself, I think, had Paul London, Brian Kendrick. I do forget the other team that's in it, but it's a fantastic match there. Really, really good ladder match. A couple of other matches. Let's just throw a couple out there for a bit of love there for that question. So I think it's really, really good. I would like to say that Rey Mysterio Kurt Angle from SummerSlam 2002, one of the best openers of all time. Another one I'd give for Rey as well against Psychosis, which I believe that one will be at Bash of the Beach 96. Of course, that's the show where Hulk Hogan turned heel and joined the NWO, betraying WCW. Tina Stein says Dexter should go after Trick, and that would be great, CB. I'm actually agreeing with you as I'm reading the comment out. That would be really hilarious to watch, actually, because Trick is so good at selling this stuff. So yeah, I actually would really be in favor of that. It's maybe that we need Carmelo and Trick on Monday Night Raw. That would be awesome to see. Underground Temple plays in the house. Hope you're doing well. Underground says, good evening, Steve. What are your thoughts on the NXT Black and Gold and Triple H bringing it back to NXT? Do you think we'll get NXT takeovers in live crowds like in the past? I've touched on a lot of this in the video already, but I'll do a brief condensed version. If you want the more in-depth, probably best to just head back to the start for it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Like I said, I want a combination of the both. I want to see Black and Gold. I want to see the best of what we've seen with 2.0 as well. I think that that's a nice dynamic to have the characters, but have the specialness and have the best wrestling available as well. If there's a great indie wrestler out there, why can't they be signed to NXT? I think that would be great. Like for me, looking at Impact's roster, for example, you got Josh Alexander, you got Ace Austin, Chris Bay. There's so many great people. Speedball Mike Bailey, some fantastic people. If the talent became available, would be amazing for NXT. So if you can bring talent like that in, why wouldn't you? But if you can make your homegrown stars as well, like I mentioned, the Tony D'Angelos of this world as well, Grayson Waller's, that's great to see as well. We look like we could be getting takeovers back as soon as Halloween Havoc, according to Brian Alvarez. And yes, I do hope they do traveling again in the near future. I don't think they'll be straight away, but if they can get the real buzz back for NXT like they had under Black and Gold, there's no reason why they can't go around, certainly the United States to begin with anyway, and sell out stadiums like they did for, say, Toronto, Portland, Oregon, and all the other places they did. I mean, Brooklyn was always one of my personal favorites. They did it every year. Tina says, Paul London and Brian Kendrick were the GOATs at the time. They were. I used to really enjoy their tag team title reign at that point. They didn't seem to have a lot of teams to fight, though, a lot of the time. But they always had some great matches. Always the best undercard match when you used to watch them. Don Mills, favorite stipulation match? Great question, this one. For me, I am a big fan of the TLC match, but I do think when I look back in history, my favorite matches tend to be Hell in a Cell matches. So I think when you look in the old school Hell in a Cell particularly, that's used to be the feud closer. So for me, that would probably be the one that takes it. But that or TLC, probably the two that really stand out for me. I always used to get a real buzz for a ladder match in my youth days. But when I look back, and I could say probably Mankind and Undertaker, that Hell in a Cell match will always be there with me. Undertaker, Triple H, end of an era as well. So they're two of my top favorite matches. So I think I'm going to have to go Hell in a Cell. Underground Temple Play says, I would like to see Bronson Reed back in WWE, and this Black and Gold would be perfect for him as a main eventer. Totally agree. As I said already in the stream, I think it'd be amazing to see him and Bron Breakker as a main event. I think would be awesome. I don't want to give a spoiler away, but I think it's kind of a given that let's just say a former NXT UK champion may be coming to NXT very, very shortly. Let's just put that. Him against Bronson Reed would be awesome as well. Tyler Bate against him would be awesome. So there's lots of great stuff that we could see in the future of NXT. There seems to be almost like a top layer of the card. It feels like it's quite a strong roster now that it's combined with a number of the NXT UK stars. Jeff Samuel says, how do you feel about AEW's booking yesterday with Lucha Bros losing, the firm stable making no sense, and Rosa defending her title against people? I'm guessing you mean that would be Toni Storm, and she's a face. Do you think Tony needs a booker like William Regal? He goes on to say. So let's talk about AEW quickly. Let's talk about a bit about Dynamite yesterday. I thought that the world title match, the tournament, I thought the matches were great. Particularly enjoyed the main event, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho. Thought that was awesome. Lucha Bros losing. I mean, they wanted to build up this tag team title match for next week with Swerve and the Glory against the Acclaimed. You couldn't have Swerve and the Glory lose at this point. The Lucha Bros are the trios tag team title champions at this point. So although they're champions, they're in a different style with Pac at the minute. So that's where they can't be losing. In the tag team division, I think it's okay for the time being. But the firm, I really felt sorry for Stokely. Look, Stokely's an amazing talker. He's awesome. There's pros and cons with the firm. First con, the name The Firm. For me, it just feels so basic. It doesn't fit the narrative. They're kind of almost like, they remind me of a WCW group, Misfits in Action almost. It's kind of like they don't go together as a group whatsoever, but they all have a common goal of wanting to better their careers. They've been lost in the shuffle, if you will. And this is where a pro comes for a number of them, because Stokely gave direction for them. Lee Moriarty, the Pure Championship of Ring of Honor, he wants to go for that title. The Gun Club, they want to go and become AEW Tag Team Champions. Will it be the next champions? I'm not sure, but we'll discuss that on another video. I'm looking to do our fresh predictions later this week on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. But also, when you look then with W. Morrissey, he just wants love, almost, it feels. I felt that was a bit of a hokey part of that, if I'm being brutally honest. And also we had the likes of Ethan Page with the All-Atlantic Championship. Now, many have been very critical of that championship. Someone like Ethan Page, a proud Canadian, this could be a way to add something to that championship. But Tony Khan should have people around him that he's got, the likes of, William Regal there, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, people like that. So there is always he's got great experienced heads around him. So he should use those people to help him. That's what I would say going forward. But one thing I'm not saying very, very quick, because I've not seen anyone really mention this anywhere, is it because Jim Ross not been around for the last 2 weeks in AEW since All Out? Just going to leave that there. Don't know the reasons why. It'd be pure speculation. But at the same time as well, Nuben Co saying, I believe Asuka definitely should go back to NXT because everyone on social media is already getting tired seeing her as a face. Hope you'll do a video on how Asuka is booked in the Triple H era in WWE. Something I could look into. I'd have to come up with a good way of how I would do it as well, rather than just how Triple H would do it, because I think it's more interesting to give my take on it as well. If I can come up with something creative, Noob, mark that as a video that I'll try to do for you for sure. But as for Asuka in NXT, I mean, certainly there was some matches down there for her. She was to make some appearances there. Like I said, if we've got the likes of Soma Sikoa going down, I know he's just very recent NXT, but we've even seen it with merging with people going to Raw and SmackDown. Toxic Attraction, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane have been on SmackDown a couple of times. That's benefited them as well because they're getting main TV exposure. Yes, they lost one of their matches as well to Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez, but they are the established SmackDown talent right now. So that kind of made sense that they lost that match. Plus, they were without Mandy Rose. And of course, when you've got Mandy Rose, that's when I think that you need to be in a situation then where they will be at full strength. But until then, they're okay to lose a few matches because they're still just making the name for themselves. And that's kind of what they did when they first joined in NXT as well. Bama Dave in the house. Bama, how are you doing? One thing that's bothered me lately, he says, is that a lot of main roster has been absent. Main roster talent's been absent from TV, like R-Truth, Dijakovic, and Drew Gulak. Is Triple H focusing on the top half of the roster now? Do you think? That's a really good point you make. There is a lot of people that are not on TV right now, but I think he's focused on bringing a lot of people back as well. I think what Triple H's goal right now is to make WWE programming watchable, enjoyable, and everything that we want to see. Now, you've mentioned a number of talented names there that I think a lot of people will get a lot of enjoyment out of. Now, you mentioned Dijakovic. The matches he had with Keith Lee, for example, were fantastic. R-Truth, forever entertaining. His stuff with Brock Lesnar in the past was amazing as well. Drew Gulak, for me personally, is treated as a jobber, but his time with Daniel Bryan, I thought, was amazing back in 2020. I think Underground said that many times in the past, Drew Gulak with Diamond Mine would be awesome to see. I think even with him with Alpha Academy could be fun to see as well. But yeah, if he's focusing on the main top talent right now, yeah, he probably is. But he's probably finding places for these people right now as well. How can I maximize the best out of an R-Truth, get the best out of he's still T-Bar at this point, I guess, and a Drew Gulak. How can I get the best out of them right now? Maybe he'll find a place. And who knows, maybe one or two of them I could see could have some use in a black and gold version of NXT. I'm not saying R-Truth, but you know who I'm talking about. Underground says, I saw a spoiler of an NXT UK coming in, getting the title that he never lost. I like it. Well, that's we'll leave that there. But yeah, I'm going to try to give some, unless the name actually comes up, we can't help it then. But I like that you're adding the teasers to it because yeah, it's really exciting. It gives me a reason to feel like I need to see NXT next week. Randy Sam as well now says it's up. Hunter bringing back black and gold. Interesting. Who do you want to see return on the back on NXT? And who are some man and women that are already in NXT that you want to see on Raw and SmackDown? Great questions. For Raw and SmackDown, I mean, Carmelo Hayes is someone that is ready, but like I say, I wouldn't mind seeing him win the NXT title. But Bron Breakker is ready for me, but I think he'll be sticking around for the time being until we get a draft. Toxic Attraction is ready as well. I think Cameron Grimes' time in particular is someone that could be used for a Raw and SmackDown. Bring back his gimmick that was really hot and over in NXT as well. I think that would be nice to see. And I would say the grizzled young veterans as well. Get them away from Joe Gacy. Just doesn't work for me. I've got to be honest with that. I want them back to the grizzled young veterans. That's how I like them. Yeah, for Black and Gold, as I said, Bronson Reed is a big one that I want to see return. That would be a personal favorite of mine. I'm trying to think of maybe a few other names that have left NXT that are not signed anywhere else. I suppose would be hard to think. But if one or two names come back to me during the stream, I will bring it back and say it out loud on the stream for you. Looking forward to seeing if they bring Ilya Dragunov over since he's recovered. The guy's top-notch. He is top-notch indeed, Stuart. I think certainly would be a very fitting person to go in NXT and would be very fitting to go for the NXT Championship. I would be very excited to see that. And he's a Triple H guy as well. Triple H, big fan of Dragunov. So, yeah, I would say that it's more when, not if. Underground saying, Judge Correct Drew and good back to NXT Black and Gold would be perfect. And I agree, Underground, totally agree. You probably put that in before I even said it. Randy says, saw the spoilers. There we go. We've got it there. There we are. That's the spoilers there for you, ladies and gents. That is the one. I did try to avoid them, but we can't ever talk about them. They're out there. So, and I must admit, I have seen them. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Hathaway and Kaz hug was funny as hell. It's very Tony Khan, wasn't it? Tony Khan meeting any wrestler that he's ever met. Bless him. Yeah, it was very much like that. It was a bit of an awkward moment as well. I feel like Kaz or W. Morrissey, I'm not sure. I wasn't getting the vibes he was overly happy. I don't know if that's just meant to be his character or if he just generally seemed a bit pissed. Chris says, hi, Chris, by the way. I hope you're doing well. How do you feel about a good video for, like, who are some of the AEW stars that will be perfect in Ring of Honor and who in Ring of Honor stars be a good fit in AEW to get television? And also, it's got more on this. I'm also hearing that Edge is taking time off. Also, do you say Rated RK Bro? Ooh, liking that. Versus Judgment Day soon. Also, like we can get more factions. First off, love the idea of Rated RK Bro. I think that would be really fun as a trio. I'd be down for that. It makes sense for Edge to take time off at this particular time because he's got a part-time deal. So maybe he comes back for Crown Jewel. I'd be even happy to see it extended to the Rumble personally at this point, just to give a bit of a break. Judgment Day to do something else as well. Focus on Rey Mysterio, maybe a different rivalry. You've seen that with Riddle this week as well, which would be a nice fit for that rivalry later down the line as well. So yeah, I would be quite in favor of that. As for this question here, this is a very good question. I did say how I would book a Ring of Honor. That video is available now. And I mentioned a number of names that I would have from the AEW roster in there. So that video is already on the channel now. Unfortunately, I'm not kind of able to get there at this second to add it into the chat. But what I'll do is, at the end of this video, I will go find that video and I'll pin it as the top comment on this video, so that way you can just find it instantly and do it there. But Ring of Honor talent that you could go to AEW if you want. The champions, I suppose, technically are AEW guys and would easily be, you know, could just be top guys in AEW along with Ring of Honor. We're talking like Samoa Joe, we're talking about Claudio Castagnoli, but obviously we've seen the likes of Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, who are doing both roles as well. I think Jonathan Gresham is the one name that probably would stand out. It would have been great for it, but I know he asked for his release, so I have to wait and see what will go with that down the line. We've not seen him for a very long time. Was he granted that release? Someone let me know in the comments. I never knew if he actually got it granted. Chris was saying possibly a Rey Mysterio with Legado del Fantasma, easy for me to say. Let's put my teeth back in, shall we? I like the LWO, but Ray is the veteran face against Judgment Day, possibly. Make a lot of sense. I talked about Jonesy with this actually earlier on today in the comments on Facebook, and we said an idea about how that could be the case, that they seem the most logical to make the save for Ray at this point. And what we could do is we could start building Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar at WrestleMania. We get this sort of story out of the way. We get Ray and Dom done by Royal Rumble, and then the turn goes on from Santos onto Ray, and we've got Ray against Legado del Fantasma going into WrestleMania. And I think that could make a lot of sense if they were to do that. Chris also says, I'm also get that Hunter's getting credit. He gets more wrestlers, more storyline, not just one, but more storylines like Seth, Judgment Day, Riddle, and etc. Triple H is doing a good job. I really enjoyed Raw this week. I thought it's possibly, I want to say possibly one of my favorite Raws since he's took charge. I would say that for me, the first 2 hours in particular were incredible this week. It's just a shame that Raw can't be a 2-hour show again, because that would have been a 10 out of 10 show for me. It was amazing. Ringside Hub in the house, how are we doing? Well, Ringside Hub, thank you for checking out the stream. Says we like your videos, keep up the great work. Thank you very much, though. Really appreciate that. It's always nice to get some very kind comments, so thank you very much. It does mean a lot. Underground Temple Play says this new black and gold of NXT: Roderick Strong, Apollo Crews, Ricochet, Bronson Reed, Dijakovic, Drew Gulak, getting out of breath here. Underground, MSK, Tyler Bates, GYV, Tozawa, Ali, Cedric Grimes, Dragunov, JD. That's a solid roster, and yes, it certainly is. I'd be definitely quite happy with that NXT going forward. Even with some of the other sort of names that you've not mentioned there, we've got a bit of black and gold vibes there, but add that with a taste of the 2.0, and you've got some great stuff going on there as well. We got Bama Day says, what if to combat Judgment Day, Ray enlists the help of Legado? Yes, then Dominic would be more torn because it's about heritage and legacy more than the father son. Oh, now that's a different layer to that story. I like that. Bama, you're taking it one level up, my friend. Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome to see. I would like that because then you got the idea of what does Dom do? Does he help his dad later down the line when Legado turn on Ray? Because Dom can become his own man in the meantime. That's what he needs to establish. He needs to establish himself as a man, as a character, not just being like the son of Rey Mysterio, because that had long played its course. Now, if we can get Dom being Dom, that could be something that'd be really fascinating to see further down the line. Oh, God. Got a housefly that's attacking me at the minute. A Ringside Hub says, should Vince be in a Hall of Fame? Wow, this is a loaded question. Look, for what Vince McMahon has done in wrestling, absolutely. There's no question about that. With the current stuff that's going on with Vince McMahon, it's going to have to be at a certain time. It can't be yet. But maybe at some point in the future, perhaps it will happen. Yeah, I imagine Vince should be in the Hall of Fame, yes. Chris says, if Hunter does go to RK Bro versus Judgment Day soon, can Hunter pull a plot twist like Randy Orton was the leader the whole time, and that's why Finn got Riddle to join the same with Dom and Ray? This is an interesting idea. I mean, obviously, then you can have the breakup of RK Bro, but it's pure fantasy booking. So for me, it's something that I would say would stick in fantasy booking for now. I think Randy enjoys being with RK Bro for now. So I don't see necessarily them breaking up. But when they do, and they do need to at some point, I do think it would be a fantastic WrestleMania match to happen. So maybe the fact that Randy Orton's off TV right now, he could come back and help Riddle to begin with, but maybe realizing that Riddle was doing well without him or not checked on him, like a lot of the time, this is what these people do, goes, you didn't do this. You didn't look out for me. You didn't check out for me when I was in hospital. That's a way to sort of make the breakup happen. But I mean, this is a tag team match, though, I think would be pretty cool to see. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what would go down. I'm giving you your shout out. Absolutely. Ringside Hub, fantastic content. Go and check them out. Go and give them a subscribe. There's many great content creators we've got in this chat actually right now as well. But Ringside Hub, certainly one of them. Make sure to go and check them out. C Nation in the house. Hope you're doing well, C Nation. You finishing your homework. School should come first. Remember, as Che Gable once said, don't boo education. You're doing the right thing, C Nation. But I appreciate that you're here and I hope you're doing well. Carson Nathan in the house. Hope you're doing well, Carson. It says, how you feel about Miz and Loomis storyline? It feels integrated. I'm going to make sure I'm struggling with that word. But can this be a way to have Loomis and make Miz crazy? And this is a repackage for the Miz, possibly. Well, Miz is certainly going crazy as it is. He doesn't seem to want to talk about it much, which is not progressing the storyline either. But Dexter Loomis is the heel at this point, surely. He's broke into a man's home with his kids in there. That's just not right. There's nothing normal about that. This storyline has gone a bit south for me. I can't lie. I've totally lost faith of it really at this point. So fingers crossed at some point we can get a bit more where we can just get a match and this done. Because for me personally, I am less favorable. We were talking about this with different fantasy booking scenarios about a month ago. And for me personally, I much enjoyed those ideas more, of the idea of Dexter Loomis being a heel than a goofy face. But perhaps, and I'm going to do, as I usually do in one of these streams at least once, I'm going to give a good shout out to Tom Colohue, because Tom Colohue has got his sources. He's got a great YouTube channel as well. And of course, with his inside sources, there is suggestions that we could be getting The Way at some point on the main roster. And of course, Dexter Loomis was a part of that group. So it'd be interesting to see how that would play out. Especially as everyone is kind of everywhere at the moment as well. We've got Austin Theory and Johnny Gargano feuding as well. Bama Dave says, today's random thought, and I love a random thought. What if Triple H brought the Elite to be an NWO takeover of the WWE? Everyone assumes the smaller company would do the angle and repeat history, but what if global WWE did it? It certainly would be a fascinating storyline. That's one thing I would say out off the bat. it would be amazing to see. But obviously, they couldn't keep up that facade in WCW all that time either. They had to more or less say they were signed to WCW after a time because of the fact that it wasn't seen as like okay to be that they're from the other show. They weren't contracted. They weren't there anymore. So I don't know how it would work full time here, but I would love to see it more. And this has gone around on social media already, but like a Radicals, where we had like Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Paris Satin, all sitting like in the front row watching as like it was like DX taking over, like the Bloodline, if you want, doing their thing in the ring, and SmackDown's on. All of a sudden, you just see the Elite come and sit in the crowd, and they're sort of watching the action, and boom, you lead to like that would be great for Survivor Series in itself, wouldn't it? The Bloodline against the Elite. It's not going to happen, but certainly would be amazing. Where do you see wrestling 1 year from now? Great question, Ringside Hub. Probably kind of similar to where it is in a way, but I would say that WWE has got a lot of buzz going about it right now. So let's go company by company quickly and give a short variation. I think WWE is going strength to strength. I think that they'll have a more established rosters because of the fact that Triple H will have enough time to see his vision. We'll have a full Raw, have a full SmackDown. We'll have this NXT black and gold mix of 2.0, whatever it's going to be going forward. That will be the brand, and we'll be used to what Triple H has given us. We'll almost take for granted, if we're enjoying WWE right now, we'll take for granted how it is. We'll forget what we were having this last sort of few years under Vince McMahon. For AEW, I mean, it's difficult to say because 1 year from now, if the bidding war of 2024 is actually going to happen, MJF will be closing near the end of that AEW contract. Has he signed a new one to come back to TV? I'm not sure. But one thing's for sure, they're going to play it into storyline for sure. So I reckon at that point, we're about 9 months into an MJF world title reign. That's one thing I would say now. Would CM Punk still be with the company? I'm not sure. I think Tony Khan will do what he can to smooth it over. But I wouldn't say it's a guarantee CM Punk will be in the company a year from now. Kenny and the Bucks, anyone's guess, but I'm assuming they will be back in All Elite Wrestling in some capacity if I had to guess right now. As for Impact Wrestling, I've seen they got an executive today that's been doing some really good stuff for marketing and stuff like that, was involved with WWE for many years as well. So that would be quite cool to see. I hope Impact goes and does bigger things as well, because I'm a big fan of their products and they deserve more eyes on their prize. But from that's my guesses for 1 year from now. But it's very hard to say how it will be, because if you asked me last year what it'd be 1 year from now to see what we've got to this year, wrestling been crazy. It's been very crazy. Cination Dog, Raquel Rodriguez had a third bad women's tag team title reign. She certainly did, but she had the longest one she ever had, which is certainly something positive we can say at the very least. And I think she will get a heel turn eventually and turn on Aaliyah, and that could help her character long term in WWE. So that could also be a blessing in disguise. Carson says, how do you feel about Swerve turning heel next week because he fits better as a heel? I agree with that. Then a face, this could be a story of Keith Lee to be over babyface and acclaimed win, or Keith and Swerve cheated to win. Interesting. This is the thing, because Keith Lee is probably the whole interesting play in the something, because Swerve doesn't matter. He's already on the heel side. He's happy to play bad boy in this. But Keith Lee is kind of like, we said with the media scrum, he was like, I've never really been in this position before. This isn't what I've done. So it was an interesting twist, but he kind of felt like it was the crowd on the night. If Keith Lee feels that that's a continuation going on with his association with Swerve, he'll either think that Swerve is what's dragging him down and he needs to be away from that because he wants to be good, or he feels that people have turned on him and he's actually going to see the light of what Swerve sees, and we get Swerve and glory for the long term. I'd actually be interested to see Keith Lee as a heel at this point, because I'm going to be honest with you, since leaving NXT, nobody's booked Keith Lee well, in my opinion. Keith Lee's best booking in AEW has been the last couple of weeks, but the tag team reign up until All Out for me had felt lackluster. I feel it's the opposition of the Acclaimed that added some spice into, because people now believe the Acclaimed can win those tag team championships. I think that's why that's added in, and that's added a new layer of story into this. It's the crowd and the reaction of All Out that has given us why we've got this match a second time round. I don't know if that was what was initially going to be the case. Tony Khan saw that and went, we've got something here. Let's go with it and play it back again. And I think he was right to do so, because next week, I'll be honest with you, the AEW World title is something you should be the most excited about. I'm actually most excited for this match here, because I think there's a lot of story that can come out of it. So I'm really intrigued to see how it's going to be. I'm going to reserve my prediction for the minute, because of the fact that I want to do a live stream purely based on the R-Thrash Stadium. Gresham got his release granted and was taking time away from wrestling the last time I saw it. Thank you, Underground, for letting me know that. I really appreciate it because I was thinking we haven't seen him for a while. I knew he had asked for it. I didn't know if it had been granted. Well, hopefully Gresham will be back on our screens in wrestling sometime soon. NXT would be a great place for him, wouldn't it? On this stream as we're talking about it, but certainly will be out for MLW, certainly be out for particularly Impact. I'm going to give a special shout out to Impact. Like I say, he's wrestled there this year already, some great matches. Love to see him back. Then, of course, his wife, Jordan Grace, is also there. Ringside Hub, what are your top 5 wrestling matches? Fantastic question. Give you a top 3 quickly because I know my top 3 off the top of my head. My number 1 position is End of an Era. Undertaker versus Triple H with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. It has every bit of layer of what I love about professional wrestling. The storytelling in that match itself was second to none. The wrestling itself was very good. The drama that came with it. WrestleMania, like I said, favorite stipulation match early in the stream with the Hell in a Cell. Yeah, it's everything about it. Match 2, Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell, 1998 King of the Ring. For me, it's a spectacle. I just remember how I felt watching that when I was, in 1998. And I still go back to being that age when I watch that match. My jaw hits the ground each and every time I watch it. So that's why it's number 2 for me. And number 3 is TLC 2 from WrestleMania 17. That's my favorite show of all time, if anyone was wondering. TLC 2, I mean, it's just one of the best TLC matches of all time. Absolutely love it. Trying to give you a 4 and 5, then that would be worthy and justified for it. I'm going to go with CM Punk versus John Cena from Money in the Bank 2011. Again, the energy. That's sometimes the wrestling can be good, but if you've got a special crowd and a special environment, special energy, for me, CM Punk, John Cena, we didn't know CM Punk was legit or not with a pipe bomb when he was leaving the company. He goes over the barrier and gives the blow a kiss to Vince McMahon. Genius stuff. Absolutely loved it. So for me, that's probably take me 4th position. And trying to think of my 5th one now for the top of my head for you. And I think I will go with. I said I like Hell in a Cell matches, and I tell you, one of mine that really does sort of stand out, and I watched it again recently, which is why I'm going to give it a shout out now. The Armageddon Hell in a Cell from Armageddon 2000. I believe it was Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, and Rikishi. When I go back and watch that over, it's a lot of fun to go and see that match. So they'll be the top 5, but one that just snuck outside there, it's just coming head towards the end there. I love Nakamura and AJ Styles from Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago, and I also love Nakamura's debut against Sami Zayn at an NXT TakeOver. I believe that was in Dallas. Incredible stuff. Sination says Dexter Lumis is the babyface, but non-wrestling fan will think that Miz is the babyface. Exactly, and that's why this storyline has gone a bit backwards, in my opinion. Underground says, I think Domino fits Legado better than he does Judgment Day. Totally agree with that, 100%. 7 months now, and I wanted Dominic to still turn heel on his father and join Santos. Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing to see if that could ever happen one day. But it feels like we've lost the boat now with John Judgment Day. Although I haven't hated him in Judgment Day so far, even though I agree with you, it would have been a better fit. Have Ray versus Dominic in a career match at WrestleMania. Certainly would be fun. Maybe career versus Mask. That would be nice to see. Definitely be cool. We've got Kofi from the Dirty Heels podcast. We live, baby. Stopping by to hear the beautiful accent. Thank you very much indeed there. And you do some fantastic content as well. Make sure to check out the Dirty Heels podcast as well. On Twitch as well, not just on YouTube. So there was some great content over there. Make sure and go and check them out. Bama Dave says, agreed, the Radicals angle would definitely work. Would love to see if they could do that. I've been asked by Ringside, do I watch New Japan and MLW? Sadly, not with MLW. Time is just of the essence. New Japan for me, as people are regulars will know this exact phrase and saying that's every time. I am a casual New Japan fan when it comes around, and this is where the beautiful accent comes in, by the way, Kofi. When it comes, something you'd say from my neck of the woods anyway, when it comes around to Wrestle Kingdom season, I'll have a butcher's. I'll have a look at the card. I'll see what matches intrigue me. I'll check out Wrestle Kingdom. Sometimes I might have something that'll catch my eye in the rest of the year, like a Dominion, something like that. But that's usually the time I'll check out New Japan. Maybe New Year's Dash as well. But for the rest of the year, it's more hearsay than anything else. If someone says to me, oh, there's an incredible match, you need to go and check that out. Particularly I'm a big fan of Will Ospreay, for example, and Okada and a couple of others, Jeff Cobb as well, then I'll probably make myself to go out and watch that particular match. But I don't tend to watch full shows. Underground, Vince would induct himself. He probably would, but he seems like. But if you go with the Pat McAfee interview he did earlier this year, he did kind of more or less say that he doesn't like compliments. So I'm not sure when Vince would go in and how it would be received if he wants to, but it's going to happen one day. It's a when, not if. But certainly, it feels like today or even tomorrow. feels like the wrong time to do it, in my personal opinion. C Nation says Rich Swann and Josh Alexander have an Impact Tag Team title match tonight. Hope Rich Swann finally does it. I hope so for you. I really do. That would be awesome to see if they could do it. But yeah, interesting to see. So yeah, I haven't seen Impact now for about a week, so I'm a little bit behind. I need to catch up, but it just shows the time of essence of keeping up with wrestling. It's almost like a full-time job these days. But yeah, I need to see this, and I'm looking forward to seeing this match. C Nation, I'm hoping Rich does it for you, then finally be the Grand Slam champ you've always wanted. How come Raquel Rodriguez can never hold a women's tag team title for 20 days? Because WWE's pencil and booking team seem to just change it. That's what it is. I mean, the second time I think they booked it, and then they were going to call her up to SmackDown like days later. So you can't really blame that second reign so much. But she's better as a singles competitor, in my opinion, rather than a tag team division. I'm going to throw an interesting curveball out of where I'd like to see her. I'd like to see her with Damage Control. I'd like to see her be the fourth recruit for that group, because then you could have her with Dakota going for tag titles at some point if you want to have EO as a breakout star. But also, I just feel like then that group with Bayley could almost be like a women's, formation of evolution. You have that the sort of legend that's the here and now. Bayley is almost Triple H and Ric Flair combined at this point you want, but she's kind of the Triple H of the group, and you've got the 3 stars of tomorrow in this group. And if you've got that bodyguard kind of role, Raquel could kind of be like the Batista of that group. And I think when she'd eventually break out, she could be like a top star in the division, and her and Bayley would be a really interesting feud that I'd be down for seeing. So that's something I want to see one day, but certainly I think in the short term, I think Raquel and Aaliyah will try and get those tag team championships back. So forget about holding them again. I think they're going to fail in trying to win them again. And I think eventually Raquel will turn on Aaliyah and say that Aaliyah is the letdown of the team and that she was carrying the team. So we've got a conversation here. It's Underground saying we're against the Kingdom, hadn't they just won the titles? Sinisha says yes. I think Honor No More will retain the Impact Tag Team titles, but I want Rich Swann and Josh Alexander to win them. Does make a lot of sense. So we'll have to wait and see how it will play out. Bama Dave says Keith Lee needs to be a solo babyface versus either a heel faction that outnumbers him or against a heel monster like a Lance Archer, Powerhouse Hobbs, like the Hobbs one, Brody King, like that one as well, or even Big Kaz, forget his new name, W. Morrissey, the new name for you there. Yeah, I think that if we'll do that in a way that I'd like to see Keith Lee against Swerve at some point down the line. That's what I'd want to happen rather than what I think is going to happen. Let's go with what I want here right now. I want the same as you. I want Keith Lee to be a babyface. I'd like him against some of those matches you said there. I think there's a lot of great performers there, particularly Powerhouse Hobbs and Brody King are two that really would be stand out. I think there could be great matches. Keith Lee, for me, they need to channel in and remember why we have the idea of Keith Lee, of what he was before, why he could be a face of your company, because Keith Lee had that potential when he was top of NXT as NXT champion and North American champion at the same time, had that visual with the 2 titles. You thought that this is the guy that could be a face of the division, face of a company, went off to Raw, and I really thought they had high hopes for him at that time, and it just Vince didn't get it, and he just totally forgot everything that was great about Keith Lee. He's coming to AEW, and I think AEW, it's just a bloated roster. I think that's the reasoning why. I think Tony Khan, in the end, thought throwaway tag team, put them together. Now he's found a purpose for that tag team. So it'd be interesting to see how much mileage he can get out of that tag team. But as I said, Keith Lee, for me, should be someone that's in and around the top of the card. He should have been in that world title tournament, if you ask me. Tomorrow is Friday indeed, C Nation. Tomorrow's SmackDown as well. I'm going to look to try and do the Arthrash Stadium predictions either tomorrow or Saturday. That's going to be, but you have to keep an eye on the channel because I can't guarantee yet that I would be able to do it tomorrow. But certainly, Friday is a great day tomorrow. Friday, we're closer to the weekend. And hey, hope everyone has a good one ahead. Underground says Keith Lee has never become a heel to my knowledge, so I would love a change to his character. And if I'm honest, alongside Swerve and Powerhouse Hobbs as a trio managed by Mark Henry. Now that sounds an interesting proposition. There would not be against that. And like Bama Dave's suggestion there of the name as well, call them the Hall of Pain. There's no copyright on that, is there? That would be an awesome name. I'd like that idea. Sinesh says it's funny how Rhea Ripley is Dominic's puppy now. Yeah, and do you know what? She's playing the role perfectly. Rhea Ripley right now is an absolute fire. When she's ready to return in ring, this girl needs to be going against Bianca Belair for the championship if Bianca was still champion, because for me, Rhea is doing some incredible work now on the main roster. I mean, if you look before, she felt a little bit lost for a little while when she was first called up, a bit directionless. Since she's turned heel, since she joined Judgment Day, and since Triple H has took over the pencil, My word, is she becoming one of the real standouts on WWE TV each and every week. Underground says, yes, I'll be AEW World Champion, no MJF. Yes, you certainly will. Of course, that's your initials. Absolutely. We'd love to see it. Certainly in the temple as well. Have you ever created yourself in the temple, Underground? I'm asking that question to you for us in the chat. Would be interested to see how you'd fare. Martin Career in the house. How are you doing, Martin? I hope you're doing very well. I'm doing very well, thank you myself. So, yeah, thank you for checking out the stream. And, yeah, still got some time if you want to throw in some questions. C Nation says, watch Damage Control lose the women's tag team titles 14 days later. Then Dakota Kai will join Raquel Rodriguez's role. That would be a shame if that be the case. This is the thing. I'd say with the women's tag team titles now that they've got them, we need to establish a division. You need to establish strong champions as well. And Raquel and Aaliyah always felt like they were a stopgap, but Io and Dakota feel like they could be a well-oiled machine. And they've got Bayley watching them as well. So Dakota shouldn't be losing matches like that anymore. So I hope they have a good long reign. And I did a video at the weekend and I stand by it. I think Sasha Banks and Naomi, I think the return is imminent. And it wasn't this week on Raw in the end. Maybe when you look back at it, might have been the right move. You give the new champions their moment to celebrate. And next week, you can have, this perhaps maybe have Raquel and Aaliyah try and win them back again. Fail in doing so. We can get, big glow and there's no challengers. We're the top of the division, they like to do in WWE, and get Sasha and Naomi return. I think that would be a perfect way to do it. Sination says, why did Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah win the women's tag team titles in the first place and lose them 14 days later? WWE just loves to make every champion's videos. This is the reason why I didn't actually get the renders for them either, because I knew it was going to be a short reign with these two. It's a shame because I think Triple H probably thought everyone was going, oh, it's so obvious what's going to happen. We'll do a swerve. And that swerve didn't help. But sometimes as well, I can see his logic as well. He wanted to have Damage Control going into Clash of the Castle not looking as strong, so that when they went over at the show, the baby faces that lost didn't lose so much because they looked strong going into the show. It's that 50-50 booking that WWE loves to do. And it just happened that they were a sacrifice at the finals of those women's tag team titles. And it was the wrong decision. I will stand by it. It was the wrong decision. But I do think we can get a story out of this with Raquel and Aaliyah as well. So maybe we have to just wait and see on this one. Like I say, if we can get Raquel as that heel, a monster heel going forward, then I think we might get some good out of this. Underground says, with Triple H bringing back NXT Black and Gold, I know it will never happen, but never say never in the land of pro wrestling. Kota Ibushi signs with WWE NXT next year, Ibushi versus Cedric Part 2. I'd love it. I would absolutely love it. And you said that it will never happen. We can never say never. I mean, we've seen Kushida join WWE. I didn't think that would happen ever when he did sign at that time. Nakamura's felt like a mainstay as well. So there's no reason why Ibushi couldn't do it. If he feels he's done all he could do in Japan, and right now there is all of the stuff that's going on in AEW. People he's closest with are meant to be suspended right now. Maybe we'll see WWE as the better option. My only question I would say is would Triple H bring him into NXT, the Black and Gold, or would he say he's good enough for Raw and SmackDown? But under Triple H's vision of what NXT was, those top indie stars were to get their name familiarized with the American audience. And like you say, Ibushi's been in New Japan for a long time. It's been a long time since we've seen him in the States. Maybe NXT would be the right place. I would say never, but I do agree with you. It's probably unlikely. Martin says, what top talent would you pick to team up with a catering 24/7 title picture talent? Interesting. Which top talent would you pick to team up with a catering 24/7 talent picture? Dijakovic at the moment, because he seems to be, I think, the one with the most potential, who seems to be in around that title picture. And I would have teamed him up with Judgment Day. I think that would have made the most sense. But trying to think if there is another group that would fit better on Raw now that Judgment Day has 4 members. But I'm going to stick with that. I think that Dijakovic would have been a good fit for that group and still probably could be if they wanted to do so. Martin says, will Triple H ever bring back the Prince Finn Balor from NXT? Maybe. I saw, I believe, an interview or a quote from an interview Finn Balor did around Clash of the Castle time. And I think he said he was quite happy that for the first time in a long time, he hasn't got to kind of be the Finn Balor that came over from New Japan. He almost has to, he can just be this different character, do something fresh, do something exciting. So I think Finn Balor's happy in his role right now in WWE. And I will say that I think in the last couple of weeks, I think it's shown if that is the case, because I feel like his work on Raw this last week was fantastic. I think he's had some great matches on recent television episodes as well. But will this come back at some point? I can't see why it wouldn't. I think if you turn him face again, or if he breaks away from the group, the Prince could come back. The Demon could come back as well. And I've got a lot more better feeling now with the presentation going forward than the last time we saw the Demon. So again, it's a never say never. I think this one would potentially be likely at some point. And I think now with Triple H at the pencil, like I say, I think it could be booked a lot better. Signature says, Swerve and Glory versus Lucha Bros for the AEW tag team titles felt so random because Swerve and Glory are defending the AEW World Tag Titles next week. I would agree. I was a bit surprised that they did a tag title match when there was another one promote. Because if they lost, then is it Lucha Brokers against the Acclaimed? You've been building. It felt like it was an obvious result that Swerve and Glory were going to win. That felt like it was a foregone conclusion. So I do kind of agree with you on that. And I don't remember seeing any promotion for this until I watched Dynamite. But I mean, I can't say I've kept immediate eyes on everything that goes on with AEW's Twitter feeds and stuff like that. And, you know, I watch Rampage now with one eye these days as well, because it's Rampage now. It's become the show you can watch with one eye. So, you know, yeah, it is what it is. But the match still was great. So let's keep it at that for sure. Nubiko, which names do you see in NXT Europe? And Masha Slamovich is a prediction there. Killer Kelly, Mariah May, and Natalia Markova are definitely a perfect fit for NXT Europe. Absolutely. I think a number of those are signed up right now. I don't know with Markova if she's signed full time to NWA. Noob, you'd know that better than me. But Masha Slamovich, Killer Kelly, right now both of Impact Wrestling. But I think all four would be perfect fit for NXT Europe and would be great acquisitions if they were available and Triple H could get it done. Would love to see it. Which names would I like to see in NXT Europe? We did a big topic on this the other day, actually. It was a real predominant of the Sasha and Naomi stream, actually. I want to actually condense it into a video, but to say really names I want to see, it's hard with indie talent that I'm not aware of in Europe, if I'm honest, because I don't watch the indie wrestling that goes on around the scenes. But I'd like to see some of the top NXT UK stars that we've seen there. I'd like to see, like you've seen, some great shout-out suggestions names there that could fit in. Maybe if there are some of the other ones that are British or from Europe that are in Impact and AEW to become free agents, but while they're signed, I can't give them as shouts at this particular point. But what I would like to see is actual main roster names come down and make appearances as well, especially for their versions of takeovers, if you want. If they're doing like a special NXT takeover, say in Germany, for example, or in Italy, to have Imperium as a part of that would be awesome. If you're going to do it in Dublin, have Finn Balor, have Sheamus a part of those shows. You know, that would be great for NXT Europe, because those can be the attraction matches that pull people in, but you're getting to know these sort of new up-and-coming names that you're trying to establish to be eventually going perhaps over to the main NXT and then perhaps to Raw and SmackDown later down the line. It's a very shortened version there of what we spoke about in that video. Would you like to see El Torito versus Hornswoggle WLC rematch? Absolutely. The first one was awesome. But can it live up to what we saw previously? I'm not so sure. But that was great. Was that 2014, 2015, somewhere around there? It was a great time back then. It was a great time. Hey, if they were there and they were doing their thing and they could do a match as good as the first time, why not? It was good. C Nation, Rhea Ripley has never got to earn her Raw Women's title match yet because she got injured and she became she got injured when she was supposed to have it against Rhea Ripley for Money in the Bank, didn't she? And that never really happened. So I believe she'll get it at some point, but she's in the background for now. I think with the Judgment Day storyline right now, keep it going while the iron is hot. But when that cools off of what's going on, transition it over. So again, for me, Royal Rumble season would be awesome for Rhea. And I think actually she could be a dark horse to win the Rumble next year, or certainly be the one with the most eliminations, because Rhea, yeah, she's doing good stuff now. Underground Temple plays Cara Noir. Yeah, that'll be a good shout. That'll be a good shout. See, there's some names that don't come to my head, but Underground, that's a top shout there. I like that one. Thank you very much, Bama Dave. I appreciate that and hope you're doing well as well, my friend. Thank you for checking out the stream. Martin says, which talent from AEW, Impact, and WWE do you think people really don't talk about, but would like for them free to have an outstanding triple threat? Oh, and that's well, the thing is, but WWE, people talk about Chad Gable, really, don't they? People know Chad Gable's great, but Chad Gable could do better. He's a very underrated talent. So for me, I think he to have that option would be awesome to see. From Impact Wrestling, I mean, underrated Chris Bay all day long. Chris Bay is so underused in Impact Wrestling. I think if he got an opportunity to leave Impact and go somewhere else, I think Impact would be kicking themselves because this guy's got potential to be a top star in the making. From AEW, I mean, there are so many names that we could go with, I suppose, but to give a good one off the top end, to make a good triple threat match as well. Dang. I'm going to say Ethan Page. I will say Ethan Page because I do think he's the best that's most underused. I think he's going to get his time to shine now, hopefully, with Stokely. But the guy is money, and I think he'd be a great fit for WWE if Impact, or because probably won't go back to Impact after the way he left the company. But if WWE are looking to sign talent, Ethan Page would be a great shout if he ever became available. Triple H even loves 50-50 booking. Everybody is. Yeah, absolutely. We got to keep everyone looking strong in some way. I mean, the only way to have everyone looking strong 100% of the time is to book them against jobbers all the time. So that's your way around it. But I mean, AEW have a good way of doing that. Sometimes they have matches that always look predictable on paper, but they still make great, compelling TV matches, but then the right winner wins. So that could be the way to do it. But WWE does have this mesh of having a lot of people collide a lot of the time. And for that, yeah, you have to do 50-50 booking a lot of the time because otherwise, for example, if Bayley's group was looking strong going into the pay-per-view, then at the pay-per-view, people would be moaning and saying, particularly like Alexa Bliss, Asuka. I mean, Bianca's still Raw Women's Champion, but is she a weak champion? Would be the Twitter community. Alexa Bliss, Asuka, God losing all the time. And I mean, you still get that anyway, but at the same time, you know where I'm coming from here. It's to try and make everyone look as strong as possible. NXT is a mix of 2.0 and black and gold. Certainly, hopefully, it will be going forward. I mean, we had a comment earlier on from Stuart, did a great comment, said there's been some great matches in NXT 2.0, and I think perhaps it's underrated. I think he made a great point on that. But obviously with Black and Gold, it was predominantly indie-style wrestling. I think that probably is the switch of it, the indie style, the PWG. We'll probably get our Only Lawkins maybe come back at this point now for NXT, the black and gold style of what we had before. The 2.0 style is this sort of larger than life characters, the sports entertainment style of pro wrestling, and I think if you can merge them together properly, which I think NXT 2.0 tried to do, but I don't think that their special shows felt like takeovers. They had one or two matches that were really good. If you look at the last one, Worlds Collide, it took Ricochet, who was a black and gold person, to come down, like, the NXT black and gold era. Ricochet was part of that when he had great matches with like Adam Cole at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, for example. He was brought back down to go against Carmelo Hayes, and that was a takeover style match. But now, that Ricochet's back on SmackDown, we haven't got that talent doing that again. So you need to try and find a way to blend it and really make it like that. But I think there is every possibility they'll do so. But hey, we might be saying NXT 3.0 at this time in a couple of weeks' time. Who knows at this point? Although technically it would be 4.0. Sinestro goes on to say, the Acclaimed are my favorite tag team pro wrestling right now. I love their raps. I could listen to them all day. They really have an it factor right now, the Acclaimed, and they've got over really organically. Like you said, the raps are a really cool thing. Yes, Caster, I think, did one or two controversial ones in the past, but, sometimes the controversy can be good, and that character is always going to go near the line if it doesn't cross the line. But that's part and fun of the character. And the Sesame Daddy-O thing, it's kind of like the modern day version of a DX, kind of like a suck it sort of chance. So they've found a way to get something really over organically with their crowd. Try to explain someone that's a non-wrestling fan, by the way, Sesame Daddy-O, you've got quite a task on your hands. But yeah, they are really over right now. And like I said, if I'm going with wants, I would want to see the Acclaimed win next week, but I'm going to, again, reserve that prediction for now. Underground is answering here for Ringside Hub. British Bulldog and Bret Hart, SummerSlam 1992 is in the top 5, and a great choice as well. Yeah, I would love to add that into the top 10 actually, because that match, like you, has a very sentimental feeling. It's a big reason why I'm still here watching wrestling today. Martin says, I asked this Tom Colicue, but how much percentage of possibility will Kenny Omega join WWE in the future? And I've seen this as well, and I think Tom Colicue gave 20%, if I'm not mistaken, as his answer. I am going to give you an answer of, I'm going to go higher than Tom. I'm going to go at 40%. I'm not convinced to go enough to say that I think it's more than half a chance. But most things feel, everything these days feels 50-50. And like I said, this year's been crazy of stuff you thought would never happen. But would Kenny Omega want to test the waters one day beforehand? There's been this idea that feelers have been put out from him and the Bucks. I can't lie. a part of me wants to see it. Because it's just a thing of think this won't happen, so that gives me the reason to want to see it more. Yeah, I'll go with 40%. But I do feel he'll be in AEW certainly for let's just say at least the medium to long future. Sid Nation says, I'm happy for Solo Sikoa, but the Bloodline do not need 5 titles. But it could add to the Sami Zayn storyline, so that's why I would say that I like it. But I do understand. I mean, Sid Nation, we've said it for a number of shows now. I know that you are definitely tired of the Bloodline holding those titles. But Solo, he's not had it long, and he's been after that North American Championship for a long time. So certainly we should be happy for him. He finally got there. And he said he got next, and he definitely got next, and he's now the new champion. How did AEW ruin Rampage? Rampage first episodes were so good, had special moments, but then they slowed down. They certainly did. The thing is, they stopped putting all these high-profile matches on there, and I think a lot of the shows are taped. When they're live, they've got a special buzz. When the spoilers are out, everyone knows what happens beforehand. I mean, some people don't want to know what the spoilers are, but I mean, if you look at the last couple of weeks and stuff, that look at the main events that's going on the shows, you sit there and go, all right, yeah, it's all right, but do I need to go out of my way to watch it? And like I say, if it's pre-recorded, half of the chances you know the result already. So I think that's why it's suffering. When you've got it live and you had those big moments like CM Punk returning, and you had I remember the great matches with like Bryan Danielson against Nick Jackson. There were awesome matches going on like at the start. That stuff needs to return, and I think then people will kind of go, even if they know the results. Like for example, when it was like Andrade versus Pac, you knew it was meant to be one of the best matches in AEW history, so you went out your way to watch it. So they need to do stuff like that again. Sin Nation says, AEW said if Lucha Bros won the AEW tag titles, then they would defend it against the Acclaimed, but Swerve and Glory versus Acclaimed were already set. Well, there you go. I mean, at least it would have made logic for the story. That we got at least. It wasn't going to still be Swerve and the Acclaimed. Lucha Bros would have taken the spot. Acclaimed got the tag team title shot. So that does make sense to the narrative of the story. But I would have said still a match of champion versus champion for me deserved longer promotion. Even if they did promote it on Rampage or Dynamite last week, which I may have missed, I think a match of that magnitude should have been built over multiple weeks. And I agree that when you've got the tag team titles being defended again next week, does feel like, oh, overkill. But then in the Attitude Era, you used to get titles being defended left, right, and center all the time. Underground Temple says, let's start that again. Apologies, Underground Temple Plays says, I have a really soft spot for MLW. It reminds me a lot of Lucha Underground, and the booker for MLW is Derek Quaid. So Mads Kruger is a nutter. He absolutely is. I miss Lucha Underground so much. I thought it was awesome back in the day. If anyone has not watched Lucha Underground, go and watch it. Like season format, start to finish. It's absolutely, it's bonkers, to be fair. It's absolutely wild. But the fact is, it's played in almost like supernatural Azteca warfare. Great storytelling, great storylines. I mean, I think it takes about a season to get going because they're building up so much. It's like a new promotion built from the ground up. You get new wrestlers coming all the time. By the time you kick into season 2, by the mid of season 2, up until probably season 4, it is absolutely some of the best wrestling that was around that time period. Season 4 had less budget, but still had a great storyline narrative going in it. It's a shame it didn't return for season 5, but things happen. But I do need to see MLW, by the way, but it's just, again, it's timing is the difficulty. Sedition says, it's way too late for FTR to get the AEW tag team titles now, and they honestly do not need it with the titles they have right now. It's never too late. I mean, the thing is, they could do that, but to be fair, I would say for me that I do feel that the ship has sailed of what was the hot angle for it. I mean, FTR versus the Young Bucks was the hot angle that it could have gone into All Out. And I believe FTR said in an interview, I'd love to source the interview, but I don't remember where it was from. I see a lot of random wrestling stuff, so it's hard to source everything. But I mean, for me, that would have been a time to have done it. You could have done Swerve and No Glory against FTR, but it didn't feel like the hot match at the time. Maybe if the Acclaimed get the championships and you can have the Acclaimed versus FTR down the line, that could be a really fun, interesting match because a real different dynamic of styles as well. So that would be quite fun to see. But do they need them? Of course they don't. They've got 3 sets of tag team titles. But if you want to have the full set, it's like, when you go to a McDonald's, in your young years, and you used to like want to get a Happy Meal and you want to get all the toys, you have collect all 5. The FTR are they've almost got the full set. They can't get everything. If they go to Impact Wrestling, they can get those titles. Go to AEW, they've pretty much got the full set. They've collected all 5 of what's important outside of WWE at this point. I know I don't still buy Happy Meals, if anyone was wondering. Rainside Hub, would you like to be a guest on the show? Perhaps, yeah, at some point in the future, would love to do so. Follow me on Twitter, I think is probably a good shout to do so. In fact, if I just take your comment away there, that is my Twitter handle. So if you want to go and follow me on Twitter, drop me a DM and we can have a chat and see if we can arrange something in the future. It'd be awesome to do. Underground Table says, would you like to see Triple H bring back a part 2 of the Cruiserweight Classic in this black and gold and bring back the Cruiserweight title? Yes and yes. Cruiserweight wrestling, for me, has its niche market. I don't think it's a mainstream thing, but I think for NXT it can be perfect. I think if you want to do it between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, will be perfect. One little nugget, actually, of NXT. Don't know if I've talked about it on this video, but something I was thinking about, and I do think I mentioned it earlier on, but is the integration of Raw and SmackDown with NXT, because I mentioned about superstars going from show to show, but having the continuity of Triple H's style of wrestling on those shows, having this NXT, how he wants it presented and portrayed, will get less crazy call-ups in future. When we had the black and gold over NXT and someone was called up under Vince McMahon, their name changes, character changes, just a loss of direction of what they had with NXT just made no sense whatsoever a lot of the time. And I think a lot of us then felt no connection to those characters the same anymore. So I think now we'll get that connection going forward. So I think a Cruiserweight Championship could work well with WWE, but I would have it between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. I think that's the best way to do it. But if you want to do it solely for NXT, they could do so. And the Cruiserweight Classic for me was a great success now 6 years ago. 6 years ago. It's madness, isn't it? I think they should bring it back, and I think it would be awesome if they were to do so, because again, it fits what's this takeover narrative. You're supplying to a certain portion of your audience. If you do it as a network special or Peacock special, if you're in the States, and you don't go out your way to make it like it's the mainstream Raw and SmackDown kind of thing going forward afterwards, I think you can make a real success story for it second time around, where people will care about it a lot more. Marta Korea says, how does this affect you or the UK wrestling fans for WWE to discontinue the NXT UK? And do you think that NXT Europe suits your viewing more? Well, I mean, for me, I'm outside of the UK, so I would say to start off with. So I would say that for me, if I was in the UK and I was going regularly, and I know some people that went regularly to watch NXT UK, that would be a bit of a bummer if you were going to see all those tapings and recordings and stuff, because you knew what was happening according to time. Have local wrestling as well to go and see. From that, that's a shame. But for me, as a viewer, as I said, it's a struggle to watch all wrestling. So for me, I feel that to watch NXT UK, it was difficult to find the time to do so on a regular basis. Again, if it was a big match like a Volta versus Dragunov, I went out of my way to go and watch it, but I wouldn't do it for just any old match. That felt like for me, and I felt that the roster was bloated. They took a lot of people to take it away from the UK wrestling market. I think now that the UK market will probably thrive better with their indie sort of, smaller promotions, and you got your Rev Pros as well, and promotions like that. I think that they'll benefit, and I think the UK market will be hot, because the UK market was hot before NXT UK came on the map. As for NXT Europe, would it suit my viewing more? It depends what they bring to the table. Again, like I say, timing is an issue to watch it, but there will be interest at the start. As for going to watch shows, I am in Europe. If it's more closer to my locations, then certainly I may be more inclined to do so. Like I said, I was unable this year to go and see Clash of the Castle. I would love to have flown over to Wales to do so. If they go and do one in Europe somewhere next year, I'd be interested to go and see it. I'd want to go to it. I'd want that opportunity to be there, especially after Jonesy and Silk. NXT did a fantastic fan experience, of which we did the podcast a couple of weeks ago on that. I'd love to go and see that. It'd be awesome to do. So, they made me feel really, really part of it. Showing lots of pictures and stuff like that. So, I've got the itch to go back to a WWE show at some point in the future. Ringside Hub, do you think WWE will open the forbidden door? Only if it benefits them. If it doesn't benefit them, no. I mean, if you look at, for example, earlier this year, Mickie James was in the Royal Rumble, the Impact Women's Champion rather than the Knockouts Champion. Again, it was for WWE. They wanted to fill a spot in the Royal Rumble, maybe for PR. I'm speculating with that with Mickie James after the trash bag situation. But, Mickie came back, did the Royal Rumble. Off she went again. Everybody's happy. But again, I'm speculating on that. But like I say, if it benefits them, yes. But if not, no. It doesn't benefit them to do a show with a lot of these other companies, because it gives eyes to them. Doesn't really give lots to WWE in return, because everyone that watches those companies probably knows WWE is in town. They are the biggest show in town, if you want. C Nation says, what is the last singles match Chad Gable has won? Probably a Shorty G. No, I don't. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, he's on a bit of a losing run at the moment. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that that's the case. He's an incredible talent, deserves better in my opinion. Deserves to be winning matches. I do love his character work though, and the character work, that character needs its comeuppance here and there. But one thing for sure, as I said, C Nation, don't boo education. Got to stick with it. Underground Temple Plays says, yes, it's about I have created myself in the temple. Fantastic. I run as the EFED over on my Twitch with my viewers create their self and I book the company. My character is Sawyer. Is it Sawyer like from Lost? That's what I need to know next. But yeah, fantastic. And like I say, I recommend everyone to go and check out Underground Temple Plays on YouTube and also on Twitch. And did you reach 3K subscribers or was that for Instagram? I know you did like a celebration just recently. Either way, congratulations to you. Good to see that you're continuing to grow and doing good things over on your stations. Sedation says, I think Solo Squad won the NXT North American Championship just so they can say everyone in the Bloodline has a title now. Sorry, Sami Zayn, you're not an official member. Certainly could go down that way. That Sami Zayn narrative is going to be really fun when it gets into another gear. And do you know what? More on the Sawyer character is based upon my two favorite things growing up in my as a child in Raven and Vampiro. Love it. Must be a good WCW fan then back in the day. Sawyer is a type of Raven Bird quote, the Sawyer nevermore. Fantastic stuff indeed. We need to go and check that out. Martin says, who will Triple H make his top baby faces aside of KO and Sammy that are current heels? Interesting question, this one. Oh, let's have a think. Because I would think of people that should turn heel, but who should turn babyface? Tommaso Ciampa, I think, will be another one that will do so in time. He's with The Miz right now. They've got an odd couple thing going on, but I think eventually they will do that switch, and I think that that'll be really fun to see. I actually think to go the other way, I think Johnny Gargano will eventually go heel. I think they'll keep him as a babyface for now. But I think in the long term, I think if they're going to do the way, for example, I think it'd be making more sense to have that group as a heel stable, but that's just me. Signature says, I feel bad for the Grown Club. AEW booked their dad to leave them for the Acclaimed, even though they are Billy Gunn sons. Yeah, it's a bit brutal, isn't it? Let's be fair, but it does fit better. I'm not going to do the Sizzy Me Daddy O part, but yeah, there we go. Coming on further from it, Sawyer has his first name in Jack. Is this another lost character? I'm connecting the characters now. So I thought I'd take the name to honor my grandfather. Oh, lovely. Who sadly passed away in 2009. Catchphrase, you don't know Jack, so yes, I've created myself in the temple. Oh, that's really touching. That's really touching, Underground. I'm very sorry as well about your grandfather. But I know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because you've been watching the channel for a long time. You've given me some stuff from your grandfather's thoughts of wrestling before as well, haven't you? So, yeah, that's really touching, man. And like I said, that's really cool. I'm sure he would love that. Sure he would have done. Sinister says, I have no problem with AEW having wrestlers versus jobbers on Dynamite, but it gets out of hand when jobbers are getting title matches for no reason, like Tony Nese. 100% agree. I couldn't agree more. Tony Nese against Wardlow? Why? Doesn't make sense, does it? Underground says a 24/7 title picture to team up with top talent R-Truth and The Miz as heels against Cesaro and Kushida if Kushida was in WWE, answering Martin Carrillo's question from earlier. And R-Truth and The Miz, they were heels before, wasn't they? That was quite an interesting dynamic, was it? I want to say Truth or Consequences, I want to say that team was called, but I don't remember. C-Nation, I agree. Swerve and Grover versus Lucha Bros needed more build because the match was announced mid-show. So it was just announced mid-show. Yeah, it does seem very, very random to do that. Will Triple H next year want to do commentary on the main roster shift? I think not. I would say no. I think Triple H will have enough on his hands already, with the roles he's got right now to add commentary as well. Plus, you've got, Michael Cole's got a new lease of life at the moment. I think everyone's actually up their game as well. I know Pat McAfee's away at the second, but he'll be back in a couple of months. Corey Graves, people give him his critics, but I don't mind Corey Graves. Byron Saxton's up his game as well. Jimmy Smith, I think, probably is the weakest of the bunch right now, but at the same time, I do think he's doing a good job. I don't know if he's a long-term wrestling fan, but he certainly is an improvement of people they've had before. I think he's got a unique sound to his voice as well. So, yeah, I think at the moment the commentary teams are fine as they are. Sination says, I would like to see a storyline where a wrestler wins every title again. It has happened before because Kurt Angle had won all the titles in TNA 2007. Didn't Bobby Lashley as well at one point? He at least had all the main singles titles, I believe, in Impact as well at one point in 2015. But yeah, it would be quite interesting. But if it's going to be anyone right now, it's going to be Roman Reigns. Or if not, the Bloodline may have them all combined. Love this from Underground. Lee Moriarty versus Chris Bay versus Cedric Alexander. Chef's kiss from me on that one. Love it. Marta Creo says, good ones. I picked Dominic Dijakovic and Drew McIntyre. Ooh, interesting. Fun stuff indeed there. We've got C Nation says NXT Europe will probably end in 5 years, just like NXT UK. All depends how they book it. Like you said, if they do the exact same as what they've done before, it can be difficult. We discussed this in great depth the other day, and I will probably look to try and condense that into a video because there's so many great talking points and topics in there. So I would like to add that in there at some point. But if they do the same mistakes as what they did with NXT UK, certainly could be a possibility. But obviously, there are fans of wrestling all through Europe, so they get the opportunity to have WWE come to town, not just the UK. Brexit plays its part as well. They may benefit more. I thought it's more of a wait and see at this stage. Underground Temple plays. What do you think? I was waiting for this question. What do you think of PWI this year? Moxley not in the top 5 was really head scratching. Will Ospreay was also in the 20s. PWI, but it's kind of random this year. Yeah. To be fair, I mean, I don't take too much notice of this stuff. I think 1 year on the channel, I took it seriously by doing it when I was doing a podcast format of the week in wrestling, and myself and Jonesy were talking about it in great depth. But for me, I never really take it that seriously. It's opinions end of the day, and politely, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. But I mean, the panel that are there, I'm sure there's some very talented people about that panel that maybe do some great content and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't necessarily agree with all the selections they made. I think Moxley should have been in the top 5. Ospreay has been an incredible run in 2022 with the matches he's had. Although I would say I think that a 5-star rating needs to be looked at in future because not everything can be 5-star. But what I would say is that Roman Reigns, for me, I probably would have picked him as number 1. So I think they got the number 1 correct, if you were to ask my opinion. Underground says 2022 in wrestling has been the most crazy year ever when it comes to pro wrestling. Do you know what I think might have to be true on that one? Might have to be true. Yeah. I don't remember another year as controversial as this one because, I mean, there's controversy of 2001 where WWE bought every company in town and had everyone under one roof and doing the invasion stuff. But when we go with crazy, this is crazy off screen as well as on screen and stuff that's been happening. We've not seen this sort of stuff play out for about 20, 30 years. It's incredible. Robbie Collins in the house. Thank you, Robbie, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Are you looking forward to OTM later on this evening? I'm sure he's always watching on the Mark Wrestling Podcast, is where I've known you from before in the chat. So thank you for checking out this stream. Hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. Martin Creo with a really big question. What is your most controversial take? Oh, do you know what? This deserves real thought to give you a proper answer, Martin. This is where I probably need to bring the Ask SCWs back so I can give some real thought into the answer for you. But controversial take, I would say, all right, controversial take I'm going to say to you. The PG era of WWE isn't as bad as everybody made out. And I think to add that into a controversial take, WWE doesn't need to go back to TV14. PG is fine to stick with because you can push barriers with PG, and Attitude Era Wrestling was a lot of the time PG. It's the swearing and stuff that added to it. So I think that actually that's going to be my take on it, that WWE doesn't need to go back to TV14 because I think that's a fairly controversial one. Underground says AEW need to stop making their pay-per-views with 13 plus matches on the show, but I understand that they only do pay-per-views once every 2 months. What about you? Yeah, I prefer, if they're going to do this, they should just do pay-per-views every month. Forget the TV specials, particularly forget Battle of the Belts. That's a waste of time for me. I'm not in for Battle of the Belts anymore. It's great for watch time on this channel. That's all Battle of the Belts is good for, in my opinion. 13 plus matches, it's overkill. As I said with All Out, I thought the show was good, but I mean, by the time it got to the last 5 matches or so, I was tired. I'm not even going to lie about it, because you can have a show that's 4 hours long, but if it's got 7 matches, for example, you're having to take so much in your head. It's like WrestleMania is like back in the old days. You had like WrestleMania 7 had like about 15, 16, 17 matches, for example. And it's just overkill because some of them have to be squash matches, don't get proper time for those matches. You had saw the same here with Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. They got less than 5 minutes. That's not a good look. Make proper shows. If AEW was the alternative, was the what took away from NXT, why people came away from NXT, because this was the true alternative at that point. AEW have put themselves into a really difficult position right now. They've got overbloated rosters. They don't know how to book everything going forward at the moment. That they, for me, should go to a pay-per-view a month, or they should just not book all of their top stars on these shows. But you could find a position of why they're doing it. And then again, this is speculation here again. If it's in people's contracts that they need to be on all these special top shows because that's why they're signing for the company, this might be why Tony Khan's like, well, they've all got to be appearing on the show somehow. I'm just going to book 13, 14 matches and make the show about 7 hours long. I know that the main show is about 4 to 5 hours, and you got then the 0 hour, but it's a long time when you add it all together. Martin Korea says, and do you know what, just say very quickly, Martin, that could be a controversial take as well there for you. So pick your favorite of those two, if you don't mind. He says, do you think that the new NXT logo will be on all subjects better than 2.0? I hope so. Look, 2.0 for me wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I still watched it. A lot of people ditched NXT 2.0. I still watched it. Some stuff I felt was not better than Black and Gold, but I felt with other areas it was an improvement. I'd like to see the best of both worlds put in together as one. And if Triple H can do that, then I think we're in a good place going forward. Like I said, I like the characters that stand out. For me, I'm a big fan of a Tony D'Angelo. I like that character because it stands out. It's something different. You can do something with him on Raw, SmackDown, where he stands out. He's different to everybody else on that roster. Same with Joe Gacy, Wendy Chu, Grayson Waller. You know, he's all about the social media. He's all about your TikToks. He's all about growing that social media and being an obnoxious modern day Miz. But you need that variation of the character because that character, like I say, it's social media star. Like WWE are quite big on their social media. So to have a Grayson Waller style character like that stands out. You can do stuff with those characters on your TV set. If you just bring in, and look, I like the indie wrestling style, so please don't hate me in the comments, anyone here. But if you bring in a generic indie wrestler that's just got a name that can wrestle, yes, it's great for that portion of the audience, but it's not enough on its own. This with the characters without, you know, that sort of wrestling isn't enough on its own. Put all things together. And just to go with the logo, which if you're going with the logo thing, you've got the NXT 2.0 logo still, but you just got the colors. I'm not getting a migraine every time I look at it. You're getting just this pure, nice logo. And for me, I think it's smart. And I think for me, it promotes the old. You're carrying the new. If we really are evolving NXT into the future of this 3.0 or whatever it's going to be, this is an exciting way to do it. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what's going to be going forward under the Triple H era with this NXT now, because this NXT, and we had a question earlier on how it's going to be in a year's time from now in all forms of wrestling. Well, this could be the most interesting part of wrestling to look at in 12 months from now, because will this project fail or will it succeed? And will Triple H, what changes need to be made? It's an exciting time, and this could be one of the things that people talk about most in wrestling now for the next time to come. Of course, that's if the CM Punk Elite news ever dies down. Martin Korea says no one should really matter on who is on the PWI list and who is not. We all know and like our favorites, and that should be it. And do you know what, Martin? I totally agree, because if someone on PWI's list doesn't think that wrestler's great and I think they're great, that's why I'm on this platform. I'm going to sit here and say I think they're great for that reason. So for me personally, I think bang on the money. Robbie Collins, thank you. Robbie Collins says, no problem. Enjoying the stream so far. What do you think of Gacy? And yes, the mailbag episode should be interesting on the OTM pod. It should be indeed. I'll give a promotion to On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Do they not start in half an hour from now? I believe they're going to start at 1 p.m. British Standard Time. So I believe that would be 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'll give them a shout out as well, because they do fantastic content over there. Yeah, Robbie Collins, what are my thoughts of Joe Gacy? As a character, he stands out. I like Joe Gacy. I don't like the Grizzled Young Veterans a part of the group, but I like the idea that Gacy is trying to put people into his group. He's very controversial, Joe Gacy, but I think that character can stand out. With the right booking techniques, Joe Gacy could be a top stay in WWE, has a potential to go far. We've seen people link the ideas of him being with a Bray Wyatt on this channel before. If Bray Wyatt was there a return, being a mouthpiece of that could be an interesting dynamic as well. It wasn't saying initially when I first heard of it, thought would be cool, but the more I think about it, think could be quite cool as well. The only thing I was going to say, Good Young Veteran is the only thing of Gacy, but I love particularly this story with Cameron Grimes right now. I like the idea he's trying to recruit him, the fact he tried to help in the tag team match this week. Will he get his way with Cameron Grimes? We'll have to wait and see. It's a fascinating storyline. But did they do the beatdown after the match as well? Now I remember they did the beatdown after the match. Maybe it's tough love for Cameron Grimes. We'll have to wait and see how it will be. But either way, it's a fascinating story of what I'm seeing right there. Joe Gacy, for me, is an interesting cat. Martin says, bye tomorrow. Those USA Network executives will be going your way. And let's hope so. If they're checking out this stream, do drop a like and subscribe. USA Network would be really appreciative. Underground says, if you was to book a fantasy match from this generation of wrestlers and the past generation of wrestlers to main event the show, what would you like to see? AJ Styles versus HBK would be my choice. Well, that would be one of my top choices because AJ Styles and HBK are my two favorite wrestlers from now and then. So in theory, but I don't want to copy you. I don't want to say the same as you. So I'm going to think of a different match. So yeah, what can I go instead then? Let's go with Let's go with Bret the Hitman Hart versus Bryan Danielson. There we go. Two of the best technical wrestlers against one another. That would be certainly a match I would have loved to have seen had it been a possibility. Kurt Angle versus Bryan Danielson. I don't think we ever got to see either, and that one for me would be something I would love to see. Martin Greer says his controversial take, SCW, is that AEW shows aren't that good anymore, and it feels so much of a rushed show and rushed shows in general. Do you know what? I think that Dynamites are fine, but I would say that AEW is going through its most difficult spell right now. They are not in the same position they were 12 months ago. 12 months ago, AEW was a company that had all the momentum behind it. It does not have that same momentum behind them right now. I compared this of like, think of your favorite music artist, your favorite music band. They have the first album which goes platinum. They have the second album which somehow tops the first album. Then you get that difficult third album. They're in that difficult third year. They've had all these top stories they had together when they started the promotion of. They could carry them through the first couple of years. What do they do now? And they're hitting their first sense of controversy as well right now. And the interesting part is that they were the alternative to WWE and took that away from NXT, where Triple H is at a time now where NXT may be taking that back from AEW. This could be the perfect time, because then we're getting AEW questions in as well. This could be the perfect time that WWE takes it all away from AEW. I hope that's not the case. I want plenty of places for wrestlers to work. I want more variety to see on our TV screens, more different variety of wrestling as well, because everyone has their flavor. Like some of the PWI list, everyone has their promotions they watch, and what you enjoy watching, you go and watch it. You go enjoy it, because why not? That's what you like. It's pro wrestling. We all like the same thing, but go enjoy your slice of the pie that you enjoy. But AEW, they are having a difficult time right now. But what I would say is, I still do enjoy AEW Dynamite, but what I would say is that, yeah, I would say they're not as consistent as what they were as a year or two ago. Robbie Collins here saying NXT 2.0 definitely had its good moments. As you said, the character variation was good for the show. Totally agree, and they need to keep that going forward, along with to bring in some indie stars as well. The idea is the door being closed to anyone, for me, feels wrong. We should have homegrown talent. We had homegrown talent. Bianca Belair is a homegrown talent that came through in NXT, and she's one of the top stars in the Raw Women's division. You need that homegrown talent, because some of those will break through. As I believe Macho Man Randy Savage once said, the cream rises to the top. That's your saying there. And you've got the indie stars coming in for that. You've got your character development as well with those people. Great stuff can be made with it. Honestly, would love it. Arisa Hub says, I think TBS Brass is making Tony change AEW because the TBS Brass does not like the blood and guts match. Well, that's a shame if they didn't like that. For me, I thought that they've both been really well presented both times they've been done. But obviously, is this the first year they've been on TBS or the second year? All goes a bit fuzzy in my head with that one. But they can do that then for the special shows. Why not have its own, for Double or Nothing? I think that would be a great to do that in the future rather than do it on Dynamite. It doesn't need to be a Dynamite special. But for me, if that's the case, that would be a shame, because AEW was doing good stuff. Underground says, Sami Zayn brings back El Generico from retirement, wins the 24/7 title, and Roman doesn't recognize Sami and tells Generico, excuse me, sir, who are you, lol. Would be a funny moment. Would love it. Love that fantasy booking. That's quite creative. Robbie Collins, do you think Jericho will be back in WWE soon? I think he might be as soon as the Rumble 2023 or just before. I'm sure he said he'd love to retire in WWE. I think he will retire in WWE. I don't know how long his contract is. I think that'll be the difficult part with it. But what I would say is that for me, I would say that he will go to WWE to finish 2023. I'm going to say WrestleMania 40. 40, he retires. That's where I'm going to put my prediction. I reckon he'll return at that Rumble. Unless the contract does sooner, then I think you could very well be right. But yeah, I do think he will come. Not like Veer, though. Ringside Hub, what wrestling publication do you read? We sent you a message on Twitter as well. Thank you for doing that. I've obviously not been able a chance to read that now, but I will go to that as soon as the stream has finished. But what publication? I mean, for me, I'm more of a YouTuber. I check out what people do with the content and stuff like that. But I mean, I would say that I keep an eye on what's going on with Tom Collihue's YouTube channel. He's fantastic with his stuff that he does. As I said, I don't have much time on the reading side of things, but Tom Collihue's a great channel I check out. Do keep an eye on what's going on with Fightful as well. Do keep an eye on what's going on with the likes of Brian Alvarez as well, Wrestling Observer. But I mean, like for me, a lot of that sometimes those breakdown sources are put into great places like Wrestle Talk, Cultaholic, places like that as well. So that's kind of a lot of stuff that I would check out. And there were, like I said, there are too many great content creators. So I could sit here for about a good hour alone with the amount of content that I check out on this YouTube station. There are so many talented people here, and unfortunately, so little time to actually collaborate with everyone. There are people that are on my hit list for a very long time, and we'll look to get them on the channel at some point in the future. Underground says, yes, Grant, I would have loved it. I used to go to most NXT Black and Gold pay-per-views of him. He was the one who got me into wrestling. Now I go to events of my son, who's also called Jack, which is absolutely lovely. Underground, thank you for sharing that with us. And yeah, amazing. So you must have seen some great NXT shows as well together. What was your favorite? Let us know what your favorite was. Underground says, if Wade Barrett was to return to the ring, I think he should change his name to God Save the King. Yeah, that would be quite fun if he was to do so. Yeah, that could be a fun touch indeed. I would love him to have the bad news character. That was always my favorite from Wade Barrett. How would you book the Gobbledygook as world champion? Martin, simply, I wouldn't, my friend. That's as simple as that one there. The egg would hatch. There we go. Let's go really bonkers to end the stream. This will be the last one to do, and then we can call off the stream here. The egg would hatch at the Survivor Series 1990. The championship had already been vacated, and the Gobbledygooker comes out as the world champion and proclaims himself to be the world champion. Eventually is unmasked and is someone that can go on to be WrestleMania. Who was someone that could have been great in that role at the time there? Maybe someone like a Roddy Piper or someone like that could have been under mask for the whole time, and then we could have had Warrior versus Piper or Hogan versus Piper at WrestleMania 6. I believe as well, I saw actually a Parts of Unknown video. I think that Jake the Snake was supposed to be in for a role for WrestleMania 6, but of course the big buzz. Oh no, Mr. Perfect was the one. Sorry, not Jake Roberts. Mr. Perfect was the one that was in the role for WrestleMania 6. But until the big reaction was given for Hogan and Warrior at the 1990 Royal Rumble, which that ruins it. We're going to WrestleMania 7, wouldn't it, from that Survivor Series? So it was Sergeant Slaughter. Less said about that, the better. Yeah, we'll have Piper in that role then as the Gobbledygooker. There we go. There's your bonkers finish to the show there. But thank you everyone that's been watching this stream. Really, really do appreciate it. I have got a couple more comments that have come flying in. Martin saying it was a great stream, fun interacting as always. And look forward to come back to the next one. Can't wait to have you on the next one. Thank you for joining, Martin. Thanks to everyone that's been enjoying it. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like the video, share it with a friend as well. Let them know SCW is here. Subscribe to the channel as well. And the last comment I'll bring up for you now is Underground's most controversial take would be not making William Regal World Heavyweight Champion when he became King of the Ring. Beating Triple H would have been a great story. William Regal certainly is one of those that is the greatest wrestlers to have never held a world championship. It does feel, in the modern day of wrestling, if you look back to like that time period, I don't think I felt William Regal was a world champion. But when I look back at it now in hindsight, damn, that guy should have been in the world championship picture. He should have been the one that should have been in there at some point. And like you say, when he had the King of the Ring, that felt like a good opportunity to do it. Well, things are getting darker where I am, so I think that's a good time to end the stream. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you've missed anything, then please feel free to rewind, go to the start of the stream where there's heavy talk about the NXT Black and Gold return. But thanks for watching. Have yourselves a good one. And yeah, next stream I look to do is the Arthur Ashe Stadium predictions for AEW. So make sure to come and check that out. I'm looking to do that either tomorrow or Saturday. But of course, if you hit the bell for notifications, you'll know instantly when it'll be coming on the channel. Take care. I'll see you next time. All the best.